within the last several days. Anyhow, so Mike and I had chat for several hours. The following day, overall, I would say a pretty good call. Perhaps not as dry as what we just heard. That was pretty rough, but it was overall a pretty good call. I at that point had a lot of information from working with Travis for as long as I had on this remake. And Mike was very curious about our production. At that point, he was not nobody had contacted him to be a part of it, which was an allegation that he, of course, has said himself with this. Anyhow, on the day of the 30th, which is when that call was recorded, I had already spent roughly six hours-ish on calls with Mike. He would text me frequently. I have shared a lot of these text messages with you folks. He texted me just before 7 p.m. on the 30th, telling me that he had a secret that he wanted to whisper in my ear. And that I told him that I would call as soon as I could. You both have copies of those text messages. And I'm hoping that, again, if I continually ask you to affirm, because we don't have a way to show these, right. Is that accurate?
Yes.
That he's telling me he has a secret he wants to whisper in my ear.
Yes, no, I did. We did see those text messages, yes.
Okay. So I was driving in my truck. I live in the same town as these folks 6 months out of the year. I'm in an RV right now, in case you guys can't tell. I travel around, and this is how I work, as I go from job site to job site working on different projects. Anyhow, I told Mike that I would call him as soon as I could. He lost his patience and he called me. In the town of Pine Top and everywhere around in the White Mountains, you're not allowed to drive and talk on the phone. My truck is a little bit older. It doesn't have Bluetooth. So, are you guys still there?
Yeah, I am.
We're here.
My screen changed. Anyhow,
I know I'm playing the settings. I'm sorry to throw you off.
Okay. Anyhow, so he called me while I was driving. What I expected him to say, or what the secret was just more a bad mouthing about Travis. As you can tell, that's what he kind of likes to do, unfortunately.
Right.
And instead, the secret was what y'all heard on that call. So as I'm driving, I'm telling him to hold on. I'm going to show you guys something here. So I wear my watch on my right hand. This is the Apple Watch that recorded that call in my iPhone. So I pull over to the side of the road so I don't get in trouble with the police for talking and driving. And I'm telling Mike, hold on. And when I get pulled over, I say, okay, pick up where you were. And he starts out immediately with what I remember, all I can remember. And he uses visual stimulation to this tree stump and chainsaw sitting on a tree stump, where he is actively discussing with Travis Walton a hoax, how to hoax this event. It's really important to know, and I think you touched on it here in your interview, that the National Enquirer had put out a $100,000 reward for a UFO story.
Right.
It's roughly $1 million in today's money. And the week before that, and you touched on it as well, the Betty and Barney Hill case was on.
Right.
Anyhow, so they're discussing this, how to put this together. You hear him say that on the call. He's pausing because he knows he's being recorded. He's pausing. He's being careful with his words. When he speaks, he's using a lot of just like he did on your interview here. And he's thinking about what he's going to say. For me, the number one job of somebody listening to somebody, just as you've done here, Erica, is really to stop talking and just be quiet.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's what you hear me doing. I'm not asking him questions. I've been accused of leading him on. leading questions. Don't ask him anything. After hearing him talk for a little bit, I do verify, and you hear me say it. Are you telling me that you and Travis together hoaxed this event? And he answers in the affirmative, but he doesn't want to take all of the blame himself. So he also implicates Dwayne Walton in this as well, and then follows that up with what Philip Klass had said about this. So from a production standpoint, and you hear me say it, I'm telling him I need to know the how, the why, all of this. And I'm starting to tell him this from a production standpoint, what this would look like for him, what this would look like for a show. And he interrupts me and he tells me, well, why don't you take me to dinner first? Something to that effect. Let's go to dinner. Let's talk about it at dinner.
Yep.
And the conversation switches over to talking about Mexican food and all these other things. I left that in there on purpose because I knew that if I cut it, say right about the 90-second mark, everybody would question what happened after. So yeah, there's this boring talk of restaurants and everything else, but that was left there intentionally.
Right.
Now, I'm going to go over a couple of hard facts with you here. And I believe I have also sent you guys the proof and evidence on this as well. But I'd like to read it, and this is what I wish Mike was around here. So we've covered April 30th, that he said he had a secret to whisper in my ear. Of course, I wish Mike was here. So if he's saying that he didn't admit to a hoax, or he's denying everything that we talked about, what was the secret? I wish he was here to answer that question.
Yeah.
On May 1st, he mentions this date a lot. That was the date after the recording. I do end up taking Mike to dinner. We go to a Thai restaurant in Pine Top, Arizona. Pine Top is roughly 40-ish minutes away from Heber, which is kind of the central location where this event took place. Anyhow, we're there at this restaurant, and I'm asking him, we're talking more about the hoax. I tell him that I'd like to go out to the site. You both have text messages of me telling him that I don't want to go out to the site on the weekend because I'm afraid of people overhearing us talking about this being a hoax. Can you both affirm that you have seen those as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, and he answers in the affirmative that he agrees that we can't really have that discussion around a lot of people. Anyhow, so after we leave from the Thai restaurant, we go to get fuel for my truck. I don't know that this really matters, but there's another text message which these folks have seen where he's asking me to get him things inside of the grocery store. They've seen it. Then we head up to the site. We go immediately to Gentry Lookout Tower first because that is where I was told this event took place. And we are there for roughly 30 minutes. I am shown where the truck was parked in alignment with the trees, in alignment with the tower, and how Mike was involved in hyping all these people up. Just on this interview that y'all just did with him for the first time, I heard him say he didn't even see the UFO. That's a huge divergence from what he said for the past 45 years. He describes it as beautiful and all these things. That was interesting. He also said an interesting comment that he had a feeling something was going to happen, so that's why he took off. These are things that he explained to me in the call. You hear him say that him getting out of the truck was all deliberate. It was all a very staged thing. Anyhow, sorry?
No, I'm just.
No, I said yes.
Okay. Anyhow, so moving forward from that, on June 8th, I emailed a copy of the audio from this recording to both Travis Walton and Mike Rogers. The intent of me doing that was letting them know roughly a month in advance that working together, we're going to be releasing this audio. I think that's really important for folks to know. Mike was not taken off guard by this. He knew that this was coming out. and we all collaborated together on its release. I think it's very important. And nowhere along the way, of course, did he mention anything about the call being manipulated. On June the 9th, and I can show all of this, of course, Travis Walton emailed me back and asked me not to release the audio as it had the very real possibility of destroying his 45 years of hard work. And that's a quote.
Well,
for the next several days, Travis and I talked about the release of the call, even a 2-hour phone conversation, which I would happy to supply phone records on that between Travis and I. It's important to know that Travis and I get along pretty well. We don't have arguments. We don't talk like Mike and I talk, that's for sure. And I don't have anything bad to say about Travis Walton in terms of his professionalism and us getting along. Anyhow, on June 14th, it was the first time I had heard from Mike. I received an email from him. Again, no accusations about this being manipulated, false, anything like that. Instead, he's asking what Travis and I are cooking up with the documentary. Mike let me know that Travis had cut him off. And Mike's first, I'm going to call them damage control excuses. And this is a quote. I used the whole thing with you to find out the truth about Travis Walton, and I have to some extent. Perhaps you could show me more of your association with the great Walton. That's June 14th. On June 18th, 4 days later, Mike sent me an unsolicited copy of his drug screening because there's been a lot of allegations about drug use. And Mike, I'm going to bypass on that because I don't think it's important to talk about somebody's medical records, although he did send them to me. Also, as part of that email, Mike wrote the following, and this is a quote. The thing you sneakily recorded in which I told you about Travis and I, and he has in bold, possibly talking about a hoax, did not, in capitals, happen before our incident in 1975. It happened 2 years later in 1977. So when I read that, I say, okay, great. So y'all have hoaxed 2 events then. If that's what you're telling me, this happened in 1977. So I wrote Mike back calling his bluff. On which event are you telling me you hoaxed? And are there 2? On June 22nd, Mike wrote me back. This is a quote. You claim you're confused about which thing I emailed you about, whether it was in 1975 or 1977. It was 1977, you idiot. In 1977, Travis and I were talking about the skeptics' claims of it being a hoax, not before the encounter. I have now made that very clear. You were only confused because you choose to be. Okay. On June 28th, I sent Mike Rogers and Travis Walton a copy of the transcript of the call to give either of them an opportunity to fix any errors. Neither Mike or Travis cited any errors that they would like fixed, but Mike did tell me the following. He said, as far as this may damage Travis Walton, his reputation or future, I don't care. That's in caps. What I do care about is my sister Dana, and I'm not going to go over this because he said a lot of it here on the show, but talking about Travis cheating and all these things. I also, along this same time, Mike starts this whole like tit for tat that he has me on recording saying something very incriminating. And he said it here on your show that he has this recording device that he hid in his pocket. I want to approach this in the most respectful way that I can, but Mike is an older man. He walks with a cane. We're out in the mountains. I was almost holding the guy up because I was afraid we were going to fall, to be honest. And I mean that respectfully. He walks very slow, complained that he was dizzy a lot. This same report in the way that I'm describing was also verified in text message, which the both of you have also seen as well, where he complains that his leg is still hurting him, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
Anyhow, while I'm just reading my notes here, I have repeatedly asked Mike to release this audio. I know he doesn't have it. His story has changed from it being in his pocket to sitting on the dashboard of my truck. This is a very childish game of, like, you have something, I have something, and it's reminds me of how people act in elementary school, to be honest. He refuses to release this audio. He's constantly posting on his Facebook about me, that I'm refusing to answer his questions. He's coming across as very desperate for the air to be cleared, I suppose. If he's saying that he has this audio of me and he has audio of the truth, post it. Post it. Don't sit here and keep playing this game over and over. Anyhow, this continues on and on. I don't want to spend too much time, and I certainly don't want to be in a position where I think that I'm disparaging a client. What's most important to me is in my job and y'all's job, you can't have somebody saying that you've manipulated their call,
Right.
or their information. That is 100% not okay, and it's offensive. In the same way that if somebody had made these allegations against you, I have been working with Mike consistently on getting this fixed. And yesterday, I thought that we had a resolution for that. I have unfortunately threatened legal action against Mike. That's why you keep hearing him say no comment. I'm not proud of that. Nobody wants to have to sue a client. It's not okay. But I still will defend myself, as I would expect you both to do as well.
Right.
Mike did post a retraction of his accusation about me and about the call. Mike will never tell me that the call was manipulated. He'll tell other people, but he won't say that to me. This is just it feels frustrating here.
I'm sure.
What would be really fantastic is if either of you would be willing to kind of go over your interactions with me, go over the interactions with anything that you feel that is applicable to discuss.
You know, and I'll just start. I mean, for me, this, and thank you, Scott. Scott is, yeah, oh baby. So Scott has been incredible, and Scott kind of put this into my thought process, because we are coming into the video realm of things, and so he told me about the interactions, the tape recording that you had with Mike and things. And so I've been in the past couple of days just trying to catch up with all of this. And so it's been a learning process for me. And Scott knows much more about this, but I will say that you have been very wonderful about providing everything. I mean, you're saying things. It's not like you're just saying things to say things without validation, which is, in the UFO field, everybody says things and there's no proof, and that's just great, because people in ufology will believe whatever they're told. And then when somebody says, oh, but the government took away my proof, or, yada, 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 people actually believe it. But they're,
I don't want you guys to believe me. I don't want anybody listening to this to believe me.
Like you said earlier, it's like there's not a question about believing. This is the way it rolled out. Here is the proof.
That's correct.
And I think that, and I was really hoping that Mike would play the recording that he had of you, and I will reach out to him again and see if he will. And again, like I said, I would love to have a conversation with Travis and Mike again, because this is all happening so quickly. But I appreciate what you have been willing to put forward, Ryan.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And I'm going to say, honestly, I don't really think there is a recording of Ryan. I don't think that exists. I think Mike is just trying to be defensive and, you know. But one other thing I want to say is that Ryan has been completely open about everything, and all the information that he shared with us was just, he was wide open. Any questions I had, he answered me. He gave me all the evidence, things that he wanted me to look at to back up what he was saying. And, I can just say that he's a good guy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I love what I do for work. And unfortunately, this show has turned more into an episode of Jerry Springer than a show about aliens, UFOs, maybe even how we put whatever you want, however you want to package this together. I didn't package this as Jerry Springer.
No,
and
trust
it's
me.
Unfortunate.
I think that's been the thing. And Ryan, you and I have just talked today for the first time, but I think
yes.
when you follow me on my odyssey over the past, over half a decade publicly, it's like I went from going to UFO conferences and being like, yes, okay, this I believe this, and I'm going to these abduction, clinics, and we all think that the benevolent space brothers are here, and
yes.
all of these things, and I went through that process because I was, oh my gosh, I like to believe the best in people, and I will tell you the UFO subject has taught me that there is not a lot of good in people in this subject, except for the people that have found me and that listen to the show. But it's this field is rife for the taking, and as a result, that's what we've seen. We haven't. We're not making steps forward. We're taking 50 steps back. We get something.
Well, it's because we have a lot of stories. It's because there's a lot of stories like this. Respectfully, there's a lot of stories like this. Mike loves to call me a would-be skeptic. He loves to call me a nobody. He loves to do all these things. It's okay. That's okay. But I am not those things, but he's entitled to his opinion. He certainly loved to spend time with me, as you have also seen in text, where he tells me how much he enjoys me. Anyhow. He enjoyed me a lot until he was cut, is the truth.
Well, and I think it was interesting, though, that he, and I loved, honestly, I really liked to hear his stories about Phil Glass and some of the interactions that, that he had. And I think that is, it's all so fascinating. And
Can I tell you guys a quick story to wrap this up? All right. So as part of putting this together, and this was before I met Mike, this is a year ago or so, I had been working with, I'm going to use a very ambiguous term intentionally, the cast, the crew, on getting the content, getting film, aerial footage of the site, all of these things. And it was really tricky for me to get that, because I was still new to the crew, or I'm going to keep using that word, the crew, intentionally. And anyhow, I was finally able to get the actual coordinates of where this allegedly took place. And I went up the same way these guys went to work. It's a beautiful, beautiful area. There's wild horses running around, tall trees. It's green. I mean, it looks like something off a postcard. It's gorgeous. Anyhow, I'm driving up and I go to the site, and I'm taking a lot of pictures, a lot of which I've shared with the both of you, and you're welcome to use if you'd like. But anyhow, I had a vehicle that probably shouldn't have been up there, is the truth. And I called Travis from the, there we go, I slipped up. I called the crew from, that was bad. I called the crew from the site, and I said, I need a different way to get out of here. Like, this is going to break my vehicle. And so I'm saying, what's a better way? Anyhow, long story short, I'm told a different way to go home, which is Highway 300 Rim Road, and go that way, then go to Highway 260. So I do. I'm driving along. Rim Road is a graded road by the Forest Service. They have these things called water bars, which you hear Mike mention in there. It's going over them, like jump them. They're made so the road doesn't wash out in storms. Anyhow, I come around this corner. All of our stories are the same to this point. Coming around a corner and we see something, and I do. And right above the tree line, I see a damn UFO. And I think, here everybody has these phones in their pocket, but there's no good footage. And I think, here we go, screw these guys. I'm going to get my own UFO footage here. And so I get my phone and I zoom in to it just hovering above this tree line to get great footage. And I realize it's a lookout tower. And it was from that point forward, I realized how this story was done, which was later confirmed. So that in passing, or in closing, I should say, I'm not a skeptic in the sense of what these people would like you to believe about me. My job is to ask questions. Y'all's job is to ask questions. And that is the definition of a skeptic, is somebody that asks questions and not go on blind faith. I wanted this story to be real. I really did. And as I saw in a comment here earlier, that I think the comment says something to the effect, telling about how it was hoaxed and not 45 years of keeping it alive would be much more profitable. And I can agree with that comment.
I mean, I think, for all of us, and I know, I mean, I mean, this is going to take a while for me to take all of this in. And I think when, I talked to Scott and things have been happening over the past 24 hours, it's like, holy crap, you want to, at some point in time, you want to just have that faith that what we're being told is correct. And
we do. Everybody, nobody wants to be lied to. And as you said in your closing, you did that really well, by the way. What you said was exactly on the money, for sure. And I appreciated what you said. And it feels frustrating, but it's okay. That's okay. So I'm open to any questions that you guys would like to ask. If anybody in your audience, as you guys know, I don't have anything to hide. I will respect the terms of my contracts. I want to make that really clear, but I will do my best if anybody has anything they'd like to ask.
I have one
about the call or whatever they want to say. Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, I don't think, I don't know if you can answer it or not, but so how did Travis react?
I don't want to talk about anything Travis this, Travis that.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
So I have to ask you, Ryan, where are you going from here? Because it seems like everything that's happened since April, and I mean, since you began.
This is my biggest fear. My biggest fear is what everybody saw just happen. I'm putting a lot of time, a lot of effort. It costs a network a tremendous amount of money to put something like this together, and then have the crew say, "Oh, that was manipulated." Or that we didn't, that's not what this was about, or you guys made it look like we did this. That's my fear. On a different token, I have a tremendous amount of respect for the UFO community, and I don't like that folks have placed a lot of weight in any story I like people to, I would like to be able to create content that people can see, that's not slanted, that's not jaded, that's very direct, the way that I have interacted with you folks, and for people to come up with their own decisions. I don't think anybody has the right to tell anybody how to believe.
Right.
What? Then you are not a part of the UFO community. Get out, Buster.
Guilty. Guilty.
I know. Praise the Lord, sweet baby Joseph. And I do, I've talked about this before. I mean, it's like we do get into this subject, and it's like you have a sighting, and then you want to go, you turn to these gods and goddesses of ufology, who at the end of the day, when you look into their backgrounds, they're not truthful about their backgrounds, and yet people are still holding them up in high regard. Or you've got somebody who is involved in a UFO hoax that has contributed to the mental demise of a person, Paul Benowitz. And things like that. And so people have been, this is for me, people are being hurt. This isn't I really feel, and I, going through what I've gone through, I've been through hell, and I think that it's just not, at some point in time, like I said at the closing of the show before you came on, it's like at some point in time we have to stand up and say, look, I mean, this is, we are looking to these gods for disclosure. We are looking at the same bullshit brokers that have said, we're giving you disclosure for 50 years, and they have done nothing but profit from this. They have done nothing but steer the narrative. They have done nothing but, dangle a carrot over here when we should be looking over here. And that is wrong. And so I see, all of these patriots that are whooping it up, and following some of the narratives that are going on that really have nothing to do with the pure and honest search for facts, for ufology, I mean, for the phenomenon. And I look at the way that we blindly follow people without questioning. And, that I think that is a lesson that we've all learned. We've all followed people because this initial story seems so appealing, and it's like, oh my gosh, that really happened. And then we peel back the layers, and then we make a painful discovery, and then at the end of the day, you still sit back and you watch the fans, the cult members that are going to say, oh no, we're going to get on social media and bully you because you're wrong and you're lying about this can't be true, and the government put you up to this, you're a black, you're obviously working for the dark cabal, which actually I just want to say, this is kind of funny, I was accused by, Corey Good and David Wilcox of being a member of the dark cabal.
Oh my God.
Wearing that one proudly. I mean, seriously, wearing that flag because I'm actually exposing the truth is putting little Lord Fauntleroy and his crew on notice, then I suppose, bring it on. But it is quite staggering. And I will say that I think tonight has been historical on multiple fronts. Ryan,
yeah, Ryan, I can't thank you enough.
So, Ryan, what are you going to do? Where do you go? What are you going to do? What's your next step?
So I really like Robert Schaefer quite a bit. I like people that don't just spout stuff, but they have I don't have to agree with Schaefer, and sometimes I don't. But I like that he has confidence. I would like to continue to work with him on putting together and finishing this project. I don't know that I'm going to have a network support in this. It's very risky, and there's other issues which I have discussed with both of you that could be a major problem in proceeding. But I would like to find a way to tell this story within the bounds in which I can.
Yeah.
I'd
like to see that.
I mean, do you get the impression that maybe the people that we've talked about tonight that are involved in the story would ever talk about this with you or say, hey, this is...
They have.
But, I mean, on the record, would they come forward about this?
If my checkbook was big enough.
So
I don't know how else to say it besides that. Yeah.
And so you, you had mentioned that you didn't blame, like when this first happened and there was the National Enquirer, there was the bounty, the prize for this.
Sure.
You saw this group of people that you felt was, it's like, okay, they're on the writing the Betty and Barney Hill thing, and this is,
right.
Kind of sexy and exciting, and let's see what's going to happen. And they didn't necessarily think that it would go this far.
I think that's very safe for anybody that's just out to win a prize, for sure. You're putting together something with your eye on the prize, literally. I don't think that anybody could have predicted that we would be where we are today. I don't think that Mike, if you would have asked him 45 years ago, would he be on a podcast speaking to you? I don't. My opinion is that this was an innocent tactic to win money with a magazine that doesn't really have the best reputation for telling the truth anyway. I don't think anybody would dispute that, the Enquirer. That
Hillary doesn't have three heads and an alien baby. What the?
Right.
Okay.
But that is my opinion. That is my takeaway. That this was a very innocent. I'm not really sure how to say it. It was an attempt to win a prize and a lot of money with that. That was it. I don't see anything above and beyond that. I really don't. I think that it grew legs, and the legs that it grew were unanticipated.
I agree.
I do not believe that any of these guys went and attempted to perpetrate a hoax on America, on the world, to ufologists. I do feel bad for the witnesses, I guess you could call them, that were in the truck. This has destroyed a lot of their lives.
Yeah.
And it's important to know as well that Steve Pierce has no problem calling Travis a liar. He's said it publicly many times. He thinks that this was a Black Ops event from Area 51. Ken Peterson also doesn't believe Travis at all. He takes his own approach that this was a religious event about the Phoenix rising, Travis being the Phoenix. More like a religious overtone. Okay, I don't know much about that. I don't know about the Phoenix rising story. I don't know. That's a question to ask him. Dallas, I'm Steve Pierce alleges that Dallas agreed with him on this Black Ops thing. So really, at the end of the day, the only people that believe in this story are the ones that were involved in its creation.
And even then, it sounds like they've had, a wavering of.
Well, here's something that Mike told me, and I can say this. I don't care. One of the complaints that he told me about Travis, and I agreed with him, is he said, "Look, Travis puts all of the weight of this story." There's two things you hear about this story. What about all the witnesses, and what about the lie detector test? That's what people know about this story. So the witnesses keep the boat afloat, if you could say. And as a result, Mike has no problem telling anybody that he believes he deserves a portion of the cut. Because if there was no witnesses, take witnesses out of the picture, what do you have left? You have Betty and Barney Hill that had no witnesses, and that was one of their biggest complaints, or biggest, not complaint, but attacks, I suppose you could say.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it might he told me, like, we don't have anything. There is no story without me, without the other guys, and he's right. He's right. to that, Travis has come out and publicly said about this 35% that you hear Mike say. As part of that, if Mike, like any business, if you're going to get 35%, then you also have to help pay for the books. You have to help pay for me to go to the shows to sell the books. You have to pay for everything involved in the production of the business. You don't just get a 35% handout. Travis has said that many times, and he's right. He's right.
Yeah. Yep.
So
what do you think is going to happen?
It's a mess. I'm telling you, it's like this is like Jerry Springer.
Oh,
it's like we even have DNA tests to go along now.
Oh.
I mean, it is right off of Jerry Springer. It's not what I thought that I was getting involved in, this Black Ops thing. And I mean, think about it. If you have people from Area 51 is right by Vegas. If you're going to go steal people to do experiments, take some drunk people off the strip in Vegas. Don't fly in some homemade UFO to the middle of the forest and take some loggers that have witnesses. Like if you're gonna take somebody that doesn't have a witness. Not six.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't. And why would other humans that work at Area 51 want to do tests on other humans? Unless, of course, they're alleging that there's a bunch of aliens inside Area 51 that are running around stealing people.
Well, I think we've heard that narrative before from certain people that I've talked about on the show, but I've got to just ask you, because Jeff asked this question in chat, and he just said, what about when they were being interrogated and facing murder charges?
That's super easy.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I don't mean to interrupt.
No,
go ahead, please.
I mean, but go. Yeah, so wouldn't they have admitted that it was a hoax then?
So I'm gonna read you guys the 4 questions they were asked, because I don't know that anybody has seen this. So let me pull those up.
I have
here on my computer.
I have.
You have, okay. I should rephrase that. A lot or most have not read those questions. Hold on.
Yes.
There was only 4 questions. It's not some like drawn out polygraph thing, or at least how I think of a polygraph, being in there for hours and hours.
Yeah, and there was only one question that was relevant to the situation.
That's correct. Yeah. So let me pull this up here, and I'll read this. All right. These are the questions verbatim. Oops. Sorry. That was the polygraph that Travis failed with John McCarthy. Hold on. Those were the questions there were obviously directed at UFOs. Let me get the ones that the other guys were asked. Sorry, I'm going through a PDF that has hundreds of pages. All right, here's the 4 questions. So number 1, and again, this is word for word. Did you cause Travis Walton any serious physical injury last Wednesday afternoon? No. Easy. Do you know if Travis Walton was physically injured by some other member of your work crew last Wednesday? Not a very hard question. Question number 3. Do you know if Travis Walton's body is buried or hidden somewhere in that Turkey Springs area? Okay. Not that hard. The last question. Did you tell the truth about actually seeing a UFO last Wednesday when Travis Walton disappeared?
Yep.
Let's focus on that. UFO by definition is an object they can't identify. They're seeing an object through the trees by their own admission. It has been initially thought to be a campfire by their own admission, a light that they cannot make out by their own admission. And now Mike's saying that he didn't even see the thing at all, just had a hunch that something was going to happen, so they all drove off. These guys are in a truck looking through trees, regardless if you want to believe in Gentry. Maybe you want to believe in a paper mache balloon. A lot of people believe in that. If you want to believe it was a UFO, believe in that. Either way, you're looking through a bunch of trees and you're looking uphill. So did you see something that you weren't able to identify? Yeah. The question does not read, or do any of these questions read, was Travis Walton abducted by aliens?
Right.
This is what people want the polygraph to say. So to answer your question, I believe it was Jeff, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
about this polygraph. why they were not interrogated on murder charges. I wouldn't think that that's an interrogation on murder charges. The other thing that's really important to realize is they signed up for this on their own. That you heard Mike say that on this interview tonight. They asked for the polygraph. They went to the police.
Right.
This is creating a fantastic storyboard. I mean, there's a lot of money at stake.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope, Jeff, that if that answers your question. I can't see the chat here.
So I have another question. So
yeah, go.
Do you have any idea if Bruce knows about this? What's going on?
Did you say Bruce?
I
don't know Bruce.
Pierce.
Steve Pierce?
Steve Pierce. I'm sorry. He goes by Bruce sometimes.
Oh, okay. Does he know what's going on in what sense?
Does he know about the phone call and about, maybe the possibility that he's actually been fooled too?
Oh, yeah. So he's commented on my YouTube video there, the confession. He's unfortunately since deleted his comments, which I don't know why, but he thinks that this was all this black ops thing. He doesn't believe in the event as told. So any conversation about UFOs or staged UFOs, that's not going to, my takeaway is that's not going to enter his consciousness.
Right.
Because he's on such a different page anyway.
Right.
He clearly is, but he's still showing up at all the conferences.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did post. I hope it's still there on my video that he doesn't think there's such thing as aliens or grays or any of this. And okay, that's fine. I don't know if I do either, but I wouldn't post that there's not, because I think it's pretty disingenuous to go to UFO alien conferences and also not believe in them. Like, you shouldn't profit from those events if that's the case.
Yeah, right.
And so let me ask you, and I appreciate your patience, and sorry about my squeaky chair here, but so I want to ask you about, when Travis was missing, and first of all, this is interesting. It should have been about a man that's missing. And then how quickly did the UFO thing come into that while he was missing?
Thanks for asking that.
Players? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. That's a good one. So when any of us in life make a judgment, we're going to base it off of our own life and our own life experiences and what we would do. So that's how I'm going to answer your question. If my brother had disappeared out in the woods, even if I did think that it was a UFO, the last thing I would do is call into UFO centers and start pitching a story. And that is exactly what we have. NUFORC, which stands for National UFO Reporting Center, run by Peter Davenport. On their website, they have a series of phone calls of Travis's family members calling in to pitch this story while he is allegedly maybe murdered, maybe in a UFO, maybe who knows what got him. That's not something that I would do. I don't think that's what most people would do.
No.
These calls are all public on the NUFORC website. I think folks should listen to them. There's no concern over where he is. There's nothing. In fact, Dwayne is on record saying, "Oh, the aliens will bring him back." Not these exact words, but they'll bring him back. They're nice people, nice aliens.
I think
whatever.
Travis's mother said the same thing.
Something like that, yeah.
He wasn't worried about it, that he would be brought back.
And so let me just ask you, though, I mean, was there an attempt to manipulate that group of people? I mean, could there have been, because we've seen that there are specific players that insert themselves into a narrative.
I don't think so.
And they, manipulate the whole, it's like a psyop. They go in.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
My takeaway is just simply building a storyboard to win an award from a rack magazine.
Yeah.
I really think it was as simple as that. I really don't believe they were going out to do anything nefarious. Your opinion on hoaxing National Enquirer is up to everybody to decide on their own. But my takeaway is that's all this ever was.
Yep, I agree.
And so, do you know of with anybody that was involved in this early on? I mean, have you heard about people that are regretting their decisions, or has everything been pretty quiet except for the key players that have been promoting the story?
I've never heard anybody show any guilt or no. Is that what you're asking me? Do they regret doing this? No.
Okay.
No, because you see them probably holding up their reward checks. Okay. No. Okay. And if they did, anybody that feels guilt, I would hope that they would have the conscience not to continue. I would hope, but everybody's got a different moral compass. I don't know. Right.
And so let me ask you, there's a question in chat. And again, thank you all for hanging in here. This is going to be one for the memory books. Let me tell you. But let's talk about the radiation and the tree growth.
Yeah, so I sent you those. Is there a way you can screen share on this thing? Do you know?
You know what? I am so completely special when it comes to this, and this is my first.
I'm going to hit this button here that says screen share, and let's see what happens. All right, if it drops me, then I'll come back, okay?
Okay.
Video, screen share. All right, hold on. Let me close some stuff here.
Okay, I know, and I'm so sorry that I should know this. And
I'm not prepared. As you guys know, I'm not prepared for this interview at all, but that's all right.
No.
All right, if you don't mind, I'm going to get some stuff to show. Give me a second just to organize my desktop, if that would be all right.
Oh, it's been one heck of a show.
I'm going to sleep for the next 20 days, I think.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
Gosh. Well, you guys get to see my entire screen here. All right, here we go. I sharing 2 monitors, so I agree that I am sharing my entire screen to the world. Okay, you ready?
Ready.
Chrome would like to record this computer screen. Hold on a second. Hold on, it's asking me to verify my password and all that to do this.
Well, this is the real excitement. As it's
all
happening.
Right, I'm getting a pop-up here from Google Chrome. It says, Google Chrome will not be able to record the contents of your screen until you close the app and restart. I'm going to hit later and let's see what happens.
Okay.
It's asking me choose what to share, the entire screen. Share. So it looks like what it's done in your guys' app is it's created like a second window, like there's somebody else joined in on the show.
Mamma mia.
See, that's what it did to me too when I tried to do it.
This is real action as it happens right here.
I see myself. It's like I have two, like I'm in here twice almost. It's like you guys need to add like there was a 4th participant here in the show.
Let's see. Let's see if this. Oh dear, nope, that's not gonna happen.
What if I cancel out of this and then we just have the one that's my screen?
Yeah, that would be great.
Problem is, I don't know if you can hear me talk.
Yeah. Now I'm completely, oh Lord, baby Joseph and all the holy people. Okay. Well, I just don't even know what to say.
Let me send you guys a screenshot of what I see here. Hold on.
Clearly, I will be doing some. Scott and I are going to be doing some tutorials.
Yes.
All right. This is what I see from my end. I'm just sending this to you, Scott. It's on its way.
Okay.
Did you get that?
Yes.
Do you see how it has like a? Oh wait, I think that just worked. Ooh, let me close all my text messages there.
I know. I'm like, oh, Mother of pearl.
All
What are
right.
we going to see on there?
Okay. How do I minimize this?
See, we're in a learning process together. This is a special moment.
Wow.
Yeah, it's repeating everything.
I'm trying to get out of full screen. There we go. Will you ask the people that are still here in the video, can you guys see my screen, or are we just kicking tires here?
No, I think I can see your screen. Yeah, I can see.
I can see it.
Yep.
So you guys can see I have the chat thing here up.
Right.
What it looks like is I can still see this on the TV over there. It looks like a kaleidoscope, or like some just mirrors headed in and more and more and more.
Right.
Yeah,
there we go. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. That's how we want it. All right, cool. So you guys can see my screen. All right.
Yep.
So I'm going to minimize that. I want to be really clear. Everything in this folder has to do with the story, but as you can see here, nothing is named. I think I saw in the comments somebody asking what a light tower looks like at night. There you go. This is not Gentry, but it's the same model. This is at the phone booth with these little aliens. There's a guy across the street that has a woodworking shop that he makes all these aliens. Heber is like a miniature Roswell, and you have all this alien stuff. There's this alien community there. These little alien dudes are extremely expensive. That guy, he's probably like 4 feet tall. I want to say they're like $700. It's no joke. Wow, a lot of money to be made off carving aliens.
I clearly will get on it.
This one has a little COVID mask. These are just the phone booths. Here's a guy across the street where he has this little alien fortress, I guess. I don't know.
Good for him for working it, you know?
All right, I'm going to see if this video will play, but the bandwidth to do it. But this is aerial footage. This is what Rim Road looks like out there for people that are curious how it looks. Just a fairly. This is all B-roll footage that I had collected for this. B-roll. Let's go to the next. So this is. Can you guys see my mouse on the screen?
Yeah.
So this is Rim Road right here. This is headed west. This is the corner that everybody talks about, because when you're down there in your vehicle, you're blocked by trees. And if you really have microscopic eyes, you can see Gentry right there. Let's play this. Oh, this is even better. This is the corner right here. And that's where my mouse is circling. That's Gentry right there hovering above the tree line. So let's play this here. Let's see if I can make it full screen. Let's see what happens. Is that showing up full screen for you guys?
Yes.
Yep.
All right. So if I pause it here, so this is Rim Road, Highway 300. You can see it's a nice road. It's paved, or not paved, but graded really well.
Yep.
Do you see Gentry right there poking its head up over the top of the tree line?
Yep.
All right. This is not me. I wish I had one of those. But this, I guess, can kind of give you, and that's a Polaris Razor side by side. They're smaller than a car, but you can kind of get a size reference off of that. And this right here, again, that's the corner that everybody talks about, going around a corner. And just for the record, I want to be on the record to clarify this. I want to present this as my theory, just so I'm within the bounds of where I should be. I really want to make that clear that I'm not alleging that anybody told me this. This is my theory, and people can take that how they want.
Okay.
So even still here, keep in mind, this is aerial. I would say my drone here is about, I don't know, 100 feet, 125 feet up. You still can't see the stilts here for the tower. If you're down here where my mouse is and you're down there in the tree line, you definitely, the only thing you're seeing is at this point lights or lighting up the forest there.
Right. And that's
also really important. Sorry?
That's why I sent you that simulated photo that I created today.
Yeah. That was good.
Because I wanted to get an idea of how that would look.
Yeah. So it's important to know that, like where my mouse is right here, that's a solar panel. There's all these antennas. None of that was there in the 70s at all. I also think it's really important to recognize, and I'll play the footage here again, but this is a campground down below. And I think it's important to recognize the guys initially thought that they were seeing the lights of hunters at a campground.
Oh, okay.
Which is exactly what they would have seen per my theory. I'm just, for the record, I'm going to keep saying my theory because I don't feel like getting in kind of trouble.
Right.
Too late.
No.
I'm kidding.
Anyhow, so just doing a little flyover.
Wow, that is incredible.
Flyover there. So let me play that one more time. You can see how close, even at 100-something feet up, how close I have to be to even see the stilts holding this up. I still can't.
Right.
It's also important to know. So there's a girl that goes by the name Charlie Weiser. I really like her a lot. She's been just great to kind of talk about my theory here, and she put together a great website. But she has next to Gentry Tower, she has the statements of how people are describing the witnesses are describing the UFO, saying it's glass all around. They can see the window frames holding it up. They have the top to the bottom, like a pie shell holding it together. Yep. That it's metal. That it has yellow lights. Yellow lights is really important because they're halogen. It's also really important to know, and I'll show this as part of the evidence here, I suppose. These things have big spotlights that shine down on them with colored lenses on them, one of which is blue. All right, so let's go to the next. This is a still image, of course. Here now you can see the tower a lot more, or excuse me, the stilts a lot more. This is Rim Road right here where I'm drawing my mouse. This is an unnamed road. There's not named on Google, at least.